Hi everyone. So before we ask our dear friends who will speak today about the games, I'd like to say a few words about DCN and Digital Communication Network project on webinars. So we started it 1 month ago when COVID happened. So no one was ready for this new reality, but we thought what we can do in this situation. And this webinars became the sublimation of our positive energy. And we are trying to use this positive energy and this conversation to get some fresh ideas, but also to inspire ourselves for future offline events. So the next day after COVID will end, we will be able to organize offline events. So we will not lose our shape, we will not lose our positivity and our energy, and we will only be stronger and better in terms of creativity and innovation mode. So today we discuss games, and I'd like to ask Veronica to introduce our speakers.
Yeah, so my name is Veronica. I'm also part of DCN. I'm the head of research unit, and today we're going to have here two wonderful speakers who live in the same city with me in Warsaw. We're all self-isolated now here. So Agnieszka Mulak is joining us, as I've said, from Warsaw. She's a writer and story designer in MoCube. And she's also a PhD candidate at the Institute of Social Sciences at the University of Warsaw. She researches how games influence us and what is the correlation. So she does all these amazing things, and you can ask her later about the details. Hi, Agnieszka, cześć.
Hi.
And we have also another wonderful speaker today, Jakub Zgierski. Cześć, Kuban.
Hi.
Jakub is a coordinator and curator of Games for Impact Festival in Poland. He's also a specialist in visual culture and audio culture. And since 2015, Jakub is part of the programming team at the Film Institute of Audiovisual Sciences, right? Something like this.
Close enough. Close enough.
So this is really amazing institutions. Those who live in Warsaw and Poland, they know that they do amazing projects. So Jakub is part of them. Earlier, Jakub has worked many years with the most major Polish NGOs and many government agencies as an independent communications consultant. So we have here two speakers with a very interesting set of expertise, and they're also part of this in Poland. Those people who are joining us from Poland, please have a look at our page on Facebook and join our DCN Poland community. DCN Poland is part of, is co-organizer of this event today. And we are waiting for one more, I think, speaker.
So we have Dori Adar joining us.
Oh, I see him.
Dori is from Israel, as I understood.
Yes,
right?
Dori is based in Tel Aviv. Can you? Oh yeah, I see you, Dori.
Give us a shout.
Yeah.
Boker Tov, Dori. How are you?
My name is Roman. All good?
Dori is the game professional, is the TED speaker, has many different roles.
Yes, and Dori is also co-founder of Hands-on Games, her initiative, and has designed a lot of games himself. But I think, again, during our conversation, you can ask him more questions and he can speak more about his really robust experience in this field.
So also I see Bob Pearson, my colleague. Bob Pearson is from Global Engagement Center, a senior advisor, and Bob is the advisor to Fortune 500 companies, and is my role model in digital communication.
And also co-author for columns that we're writing together now.
Wow.
Looking forward to this.
What did you do to
Such a
deserve?
very important area.
What did you do to deserve to be a role model? I mean, you must have done something right. So go ahead, share, please.
I don't know the answer to that. I think it's just we all try to do our best and we go from there.
No, you're modest.
Cool. So I think all our participants and those on video and those who are listening will join our conversation. So let's keep it informal and keep it interactive. So again, thanks to World Learning for supporting this series of webinars. The series organized by Digital Communication Network Southeast Europe Hub, and with the support with the State Department Office of Educational and Cultural Affairs. And yeah, and let's
also by DCN Poland, as we've said before.
And DCN Poland for sure.
Our wonderful speakers are Polish, so thanks to this little community we have here, we managed to do this. We did also one wonderful event in Polish language, and those who want to, I don't know, listen to it later, you can also find it on YouTube. It's already there. It's a similar one, but this one I think will be even more interesting because we have more speakers from different countries. So let's see.
Yeah, and if you don't speak Polish, Google it and watch it anyhow, because Polish language is hilarious if you don't know it. So
yeah, very beautiful, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
almost like music.
Let's begin our conversation. I think Agnieszka, you have the very cool introductory presentation.
I do.
Unless I want to start with the poll, Franek, what do you think?
Yes, actually, the first question is to all of you. What is your relation to computer game industry? So you can take your virtual tablets and answer the question. I hope you can see the question. What is your relation to computer games? I work in the game industry. I play regularly in my tablet, smartphone. I play occasionally, and I started playing during quarantine. Do you see the questions? No.
Yeah, I think so. People are starting to already probably too.
Okay, I will repeat one more time.
Don't click it because
don't click again because people already started to answer. Yes.
Oh, yes. Sorry, because I don't see results, you know. And I'm from the country. We want to see results. You know, because
and you actually you got two questions now in the poll.
Yes, both, and the one from Jakub we have it.
The second one should have been posted later, but since you did post it already, you might as well answer it. It's kind of a quiz question.
Yes, please answer both questions. Just what you think, where do Polish players mostly live? Gamers, rather.
Yeah, if you don't know about Poland as much, just take a guess about where players in general live, right?
Yeah.
I don't see results, so I cannot comment. Please do.
So,
okay. We will comment.
Give everyone a second, right?
Yeah, we have for 50, for how many minutes? So there are only 6 people out of 13 who voted. So dears, please vote.
Well, I guess the rest of us is us, the speakers, right? The 5 who didn't vote, or 6.
Yeah, but it's only 7 out of, yeah, you think so? Or maybe, I don't know, should we wait for some more people to join?
No, but let's continue because
okay, so let's yes. So please, Agnieszka, maybe you can start commenting on the first question, and Kuba will join with the second one later, perhaps.
Fair enough. Well then, I think I'll share my screen for just a second, and I'm not going to speak long. I just sort of let's initiate the discussion, right? So I will show you a couple of slides, and then we can just speak about what we think about games and COVID. Okay, so screen sharing. Give me this one. And do you see my screen?
No, I don't.
And
yes, now it's working. Now? Wonderful.
Okay. So basically, first things first, right? There are serious games, and I suppose that Dory will say more about it. This is not what I wanted to speak about, but it is probably important to note that there are many serious games appeared to help fight COVID. Some of them were beforehand, and developers just made them available for free, or for instance, for healthcare professionals, right? In order to train more people to help with fighting COVID. Serious games meaning games that have actually real, clear purpose to help in real life problems. So this is one thing that games can do, and they did that immensely. And it was extremely important as well that people like needed less training on site and with other people, right? So they needed less contact and we need to isolate. So this is really a perfect tool to teach someone in the times of social isolation and coronavirus. But this is not what we should probably talk about because we're not healthcare professionals, at least most of us. We would probably not have time to just sit here and chat idly if we were. So these are the statistics from Eastern Europe. Most of us, like 1/4 of people live alone in one-person households. Again, about 23 people live with one person, and about half live with children. And these are three very, very different situations. That's like, this is just the beginning of what makes this situation very different from everyone. So for some of us, it will be probably like for people who live with children, the games would probably, most importantly, would help teach kids because you have homeschooling and you have nothing to give to children. For most of us, like for people that live with 1 or 2 people, games would have this, well, basically what happened, games could help us but combat loneliness and combat stress and combat all the horrible things that happen when when contact with other people is difficult, right? So basically, I think what's interesting here and what happened is that people used to say that kids nowadays don't speak to each other at all, and they just sit there staring at computer screens, and they just chat over phone, and which is ridiculous. And basically, social isolation happened, and right now it is so that we either all learn what they have. So we either all learn this way of communication or we lose contact with people. And obviously loads of good things happen when you communicate over chat, over social media and so on and so forth. And when you communicate over Zoom and with voice. And this is the end of an era, but games are one of those things that horrible young people do. While they're wasting time. And right now, precisely this is incredibly adaptive for 2 reasons. One, and these are going to be like very, very basic for game developers, right? Oh, sorry, this part's important.
Yeah, Agnieszka wasn't sure that, your slides keep changing. So let's see what's happening here. Maybe would you like to tell us a little bit about your also a questionnaire you've been doing in social media recently about self-isolation? I think it will be also interesting.
Right. So I asked people, and so I asked, this isn't much. I've polled 2,000 people that are locked down in social isolation right now. I asked them how they communicated with others, how they used social media, and whether they played games. What kind of games, although this was a very, very simple question about games because obviously it had to be short for people to participate. But basically, in every category, people who did play games with others fared way better than people who didn't play games at all. So whether you live alone or whether you cohabitate with someone, with a significant other or just with friends, if you play games with other people, you're happier, you have less depressive symptoms, you have more optimism about the future. So basically games are good for you right now, especially if you play with friends, right? They are the equivalent of going outside together and doing something together. And they fit the role perfectly. And basically this is not like games have been designed to do just that, like what you see on the slide, which is very, very somber as I look at it right now. But for as long as we can all remember, the designers knew that 75% of players play in order to, like, derive pleasure from contact with other people, right? So this is what games do, and they allow you to interact. And this is the perfect channel to do something with friends. So now people who actually use them so are more happy. In several cases, even playing alone makes you happier. Not for all people, but for some. And for instance, like I've asked before we started this, I asked what you were playing, right? And somebody answered Ori, I think, right? So several people, and Kuba is going to speak about Animal Crossing in a second, I suppose. So there are games that allow you to feel pleasure and feel fun. And this is something that we sorely lack right now because we can't leave our home. So basically, since forever, games were designed to create a feeling of flow, a feeling of fun, feeling of you being inside the moment, right? And these two things, you can have pleasure when access to pleasure is scarce, and you get access to people. Both of these things you get with games, basically, in many, many forms. Like you have Twitch, so people play together, people watch games together. So basically, for that reason, games.
Agnieszka, may I interrupt you for a second, because I wanted to ask.
I'm done with this part.
Yeah,
so
yes. I wanted to ask Dori, because in Israel you had quite early introduced the like quarantine, right, like rules, and they were quite strict. So have you had any similar research done, maybe like Agnieszka did, in terms of, and Israel is also very, tech people, you have a massive tech industry, IT industry. So do people also play games a lot of there? Do you know anything about this? Or maybe you know it from, I don't know, your bubble. How was it going there?
Yeah, actually, I don't have any formal research, but I'm a part of the Israeli game industry, and they have been recruiting like crazy over the past couple of months. Wow. And we see also, we got the report of the App Store table, and you can see the numbers that they have definitely gone up. I can speak only about Israeli companies, but we have like 6 or 7 at the top 10 grossing and top 10 downloaded video games, and it's definitely scaling up. And it kind of makes sense, right? I mean, when you are alone in quarantine, what else can you do? Watch Netflix and play video games.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? Like you can watch TV series, but this is passive, and you could play computer games, and you get agency, you get to do something, you get to feel like a hero, and you get to feel like someone who actually has influence over the world, which is something that we sorely lack right now, right? Because we're cooped up at home and we can't do anything. Obviously we can do a lot of things, but less than usual. So this is another thing that games would give you.
One question that I have is, some good points were made about mental health, combating stress and loneliness. And also we know that streaming is increasing dramatically worldwide. Is it changing habits? Is it changing how people share? Are they sharing more personal information? Is there more chatting going on? Is something else going on besides consuming more gaming?
I think for sure, because this is exactly the time where habits change, and I can personally testify on a few of them. First of all, you have online chatting, which is now Zoom is a household name, and people are playing online. I mean, my board game group, we cannot meet, we play online, and I gotta say that by now I prefer this solution, because when they come over, no, seriously, I have to host them. Usually they won't leave until 1 a.m. And it ends up with all of us on the couch, clashing, Clash Royale, and they leave a lot of dirt. And now I can just turn off the screen and that's it. And the gameplay wise is also better because the games take care of the rules. Yeah. And I see it like this is my own world, but also we can take a look at a company like House Party. You know House Party? So House Party was acquired by Epic Games about a year ago. And they made an amazing purchase because they saw 50 million new signups only this month. And what is their monetization strategy? It's games. That's the only way they can monetize. And exactly, I mean, people join online. What can they do?
Yeah, but like this is obviously they're going to join online, and this is fantastic, right? And we already have tools for that because Twitch, like what you said about meeting, like you have Twitch, and people used to do that because it's comfortable, right? You don't have to go anywhere. You can speak, you can chat, you see the same screen. But at the same time, like it's not just the volume, the increase in volume. I think like didn't Doom come out at the same time that Animal Crossing did? And like Doom is a huge franchise. It should be a hit. Everybody should be speaking about it. And instead people are playing Ori and Animal Crossing, which are very mild and warm and marvelous games, because times have changed. So it's not just that games are popular and people play more and that's it. I think times are changing, and I think people are going to discuss different things in different ways, just not necessarily just more.
But interesting that I wanted about Animal Crossing. So I think you heard that it was banned in China because of Hong Kong. But definitely what we see now, it's like games become the battleground, you know, of information flows. So China is trying to use the game industry, you know, to promote its narratives, you know, to gather personal data, but also players, gamers are using games as the platform to distribute ideas. Basically, games become the social networks, and social networks like House Party you mentioned is becoming gamified. And Facebook, let's say, Facebook new app, it has this games tab. And I just read analytics like recently, like almost 20% of users of Facebook playing these games of Facebook, which are very primitive, very simple, but they still attract much more attention than Doom.
But they're social. This is crucial. Facebook games are mostly so, like maybe not mostly, but many of them are, right? And you can communicate in various ways. You can give people gifts. You can just send, you know, small reminders that you think about people and that you care, right? You can send karma or whatever there is. So yeah. So there.
Don't you think, guys, I'm just thinking about Facebook and this new tab, don't you think that it's also partially has to do with the COVID-19 problem and self-isolation? Because do we have, I'm thinking, do we have statistics how popular were games on Facebook before the pandemic?
They're not with me right now. I don't know, Kuba, do you have any, maybe? Because
this would be an interesting question also to ask whether it kind of goes beyond and also already in social media, and whether maybe this would be, you know, actually a new instance of our social media, and they will be all becoming more and more gamifying and, you know, interactive and engaging for people.
Yeah, that's
just throwing this on the floor.
That's where I was going. Ultimately, was that there's a race going on that we don't talk about, which is gaming is actually, could gaming become the next community? But message platforms want to be the next community, and social media channels don't want to lose their community.
Yes.
And so the question is, who wins? And so Facebook's approach, of course, is to pump out as many games as possible, see what happens. They'll buy whatever they need to buy. But the reality is the gaming industry is in a nice place to actually evolve into more of a community, which it's sort of happening.
I'm not sure that like their targets are probably slightly different, at least, I think. And like, again, I can't be 100% sure because this is just one study, but like many studies connect social media use to probably slightly worse mental state, and it hasn't changed. Like the more you use social media, the more distressed you are right now, at least according to the research nowadays. So despite the COVID, despite isolation, if you use a lot, at least in Poland, if you use a lot of Facebook, you are going to be more depressed than if you use less Facebook or less Twitter. With games, it's different. Games actually help you feel better. So maybe and I'm not saying Facebook is bad or evil. I don't want to judge, right? It has many advantages. People learn new information from social media. They sort of, Facebook help get them informed, get them to wash their hands, and so on and so forth. But Facebook actually needs games for casual gamers to get people who use it to feel better, I think.
Agnieszka, but why do you think there is such a big difference? Why do you think that people get more stressed when they use social media, but it doesn't happen when they play a game? Because why is it? Like, how can you explain this yourself, as you kind of were studying both, you know, sides of the problem?
Well, there is no simple explanation, I don't think. I think I'm going to first let Jakub do what he started to do,
let's all think about it.
Sharing his screen, and then, yes, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So I just, try to find something that might be interesting for the discussion in my files, and there's this one screen that might be interesting. Can you see it? These are the motivations of Polish gamers to play on each platform. And one thing you are interested in is how much they want to interact and socialize. So the fifth result from the top for company, meeting other gamers, and you can see the statistics. It's 30% of gamers who have this motivation on PCs, and say 13 when they are playing mobile games, or 28 when they are playing games, I guess, on the social media. So yeah, I mean, multiplayer online games and meeting other people is important for the gaming industry and for gamers, but I wouldn't personally overestimate it. There might be a tendency to overestimate it. I mean, yeah, it's fun to, for example, I was playing a lot of games about epidemics, about, I played Division 2, which is about a virus that brings the United States to its knees, and you have to fight to secure the White House and so on. And you can have these quests when you meet people. And I actually had a nice experience when I met a father and the son playing with me on the same team, and they were helping each other. I mean, the father was helping the child because the child didn't know how to play too well, and the father was a top gamer, and he was he was trying to rescue the child all the time. And at one point the child said, "Dad, look at the time," and the father said, "Well, 10 more minutes, come on." So these are the kind of cute situations that you could get to experience when you play games online. But would I say that they are taking over like social media? And I think it's too early for that. I mean, there are some games that are heavy on the multiplayer side. One of my friends, when I called him, "Listen, we haven't been too much in touch lately. Maybe we should, talk over the phone." And he said, "Let's play Terraria together." I have like 5 friends over, and yes, that happens. But it's just one guy, and he's kind of different. And so it's not a very popular thing to do, to like socialize in game. I mean, it's fun, and it's certainly something worth thinking about. But me personally, for example, I play a lot of single player games, and like the multiplayer thing is just a something added on top of the experience of gaming.
Here I have a question to Jakub, to you. So, and you say that there is like a friend who proposed to catch up in the game, and also perhaps Dori and Bob and Agnieszka want to take it. But can this Facebook Spaces, Facebook Horizon, or whatever they create right now, can it be the solution for people who wants to catch up and to play together. Because in the trailer Facebook published, people actually go to the virtual reality to play together. As I understood, that's the main objective of these spaces.
So you mean social VR?
Yeah, they are VR. So I think that the last version is Horizon. They promised to launch this year.
As Facebook Spaces was a kind of a failed attempt, I guess, and now we're trying to do it again. But I wouldn't call it a game. It's a platform for meeting people in VR. And yeah, you can like throw a basketball or something, but it's not the key thing to this experience. The key thing is you get to see avatars of other people, and it's best when they all wear VR headsets. Then you can see how they move and how they their facial expressions and so on and so on. So it's kind of a step forward for Facebook and other social media. Microsoft has their own thing, and now that all of the events, especially in the gaming industry, are cancelled and they are moving to online spaces, that's where social VR comes to life. When you need to have a conference and when you need people to socialize in a virtual space, that's where social VR comes in handy. But it's not, I wouldn't call it a game per se.
Do you have any more questions, Franek?
I have always so many questions.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, but I know it, we've veered into VR, but okay, so many people play single player games, but when we've asked here what you play, the two people that answered first said, one, Carolina said, I play League of Legends, and then Ori, right? But League of Legends is obviously designed to interact with people. And the second person, Julia, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. I have no idea how to pronounce it. The first answer was board games online, which is something you might do offline, right? Meet people and play board games, and I guess, right, this is not what all games do, and many of the AAA titles don't. But this is a niche that games do fulfill right now, I think.
What do you think, Dori? Why do you think, or why do you personally like playing board games online so much? Except for the fact that you don't have to clean up after your guests leave your house.
It's a big thing. No, it is a big thing. And also, it's really easy because once 2 months ago we had to set it up. Everybody would have to find a night where they are available for like a 4-hour thing, and now it's very spontaneous. We're like, okay, want to play short 7 Wonders or whatever game, and we just hop on Zoom and we open the apps and it's there. And the thing is that it's ubiquitous right now. I mean, my mother played a game with us. She was terrible, but she played, and she's 76, guys. And and now she plays with her grandsons also, and her husband, he plays chess now with his grandson. These are people that are very not tech savvy. That's an understatement. I mean, it took us like 1.5 hours to set the Zoom for her when the pandemic began. And even now, most of what you see is this when she speaks with you.
Okay.
But she played the game online. This is a big, big thing. So, and the funny thing is that they were so not ready for it. All these board games, they're not suited for a lot of people coming in. It's not a very profitable business. And all of a sudden, they have drove of people coming into the servers collapse. I mean, seriously, it's terrible.
Yeah, but don't you think it's gonna? Sorry, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I tried to play Ticket to Ride with my mother, who's 76. It didn't work.
Yeah, smoothie servers are terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like my father also 76. I have no idea how he did that, but like they're the same age. My father actually, he himself decided, because he usually has a reunion with people from his high school every year, and this year they won't be able to do that due to COVID-19, right? And he decided that he will set up a bridge game for his classmates. And he did so. Like, it took him a while, but he did. And every single one of them learned how to play online. And I mean, I think the fact that they chose it themselves made it easier somehow, but he was able to do that. And one more thing is that, like, we usually, some people sort of complain that when you play games, you don't get to talk, you don't have the deep contact, right? And that you should be able to share your feelings and stuff. And that's right, you should be able to share your feelings with friends, and deep contact is important. But there are instances where, like, deep contact only makes you just feel worse if you just, recount the bad and awful things that happened right now. So I think that games allow you to have contact with other people and not necessarily, and focus on something that is fun at the same time, that focuses everyone. So that's.
But I'm going to be a little bit of devil's advocate in this situation, because this, what you've just said, Agnieszka, this was my next question. Because don't you think that after this, hopefully, pandemic is going to end soon, in a month, I don't know, people will stop doing this, and maybe they actually will be fed up with playing all these board games online? Because I personally prefer and I really miss personal communication, and I don't think this can be substituted by what you're looking into through the screen. Probably people who are gamers, unlike me, I'm not. I don't deny this. That's why I'm really interested in this and listen to your opinions. Will not agree with me. But what do you think about this? Don't you think that this trend is going to change, and or maybe it's even going to be actually decline in interest in games after this? Because people will be so fed up with all these things during via monitors and online, and all these Zooms, all these technical setting ups. Everybody's so tired. Plus, it's going to be summer, so good weather.
Oh, you're an optimist. You assume that we're going to stop isolating ourselves while it's still summer.
I do, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Because the economy will not survive, but it's probably a topic for another webinar. So yes. We're not going to talk about this one. But what do you think? What do you think, Dori? Do you think many people will continue to play board games online after? Because when is actually the quarantine going to end in Israel? You have a couple more weeks, right?
It has kind of ended. We broke it, actually, I gotta say. After 2 months, our friends were here last week. We played board games and we didn't have as much fun as it was online. I'm telling you, this is like the truth.
Okay.
And I don't think it's gonna go back, Veronica. It's not like a V-shaped thing. It's not that it's gonna, like, turn the shelter back on again. It's gonna take a long while. You're gonna be very cautious. And these are habits. These are new habits. Now that I speak with my mother every day on Zoom, I mean, she lives far away, so why not?
Okay, and Jakub, what do you think about this? What is your observation?
Well, one thing's for certain, habits are going to change. I don't know about online gaming, but all I can say is from my own experience is that my mother learned a lot of new skills. She plays Monument Valley now, and she plays a lot of games, and she knows how to share her screen, her screen on her phone. So definitely, a lot of people learn a lot of new skills. But to look into it in more detail and see exactly what's happening, I think that's too soon to say. And each of us has their own experience, personal experiences. but I think we're waiting for research to come in. And Agnieszka is doing some research right now, and maybe she can share some results and stories from her research.
Probably when this was my idea for the research I'm doing, because like I've polled people once and then I asked them if I can poll them again after this is over, and they said, like, many of them said yes. So I'll know like when the isolation ends. But just like the guys said just a second ago, like people are the least and the short thing we can say is that people will have new skills. So why not use them? And like the isolation is going to last a while. So they will become habits, just as Dory said. So like habits don't die as easily. And I think we are going to, like, I'm not sure how it is in other countries, but at first when there was this, like, we heard that we should isolate, right? And that even if you go to a store, you need to keep a certain distance from other people. And at first it was difficult, and people sort of bumped into each other. And when they formed a queue, they stood too close and so on and so forth. Some people became angry that somebody endangered them coming too close. Right now, this is habit. Right now, everybody knows we have to stay away from others. If you walk the street, it's a habit to just move away from someone, even if you...
Yes, I'm sorry, but this is the best part of it in Poland, I guess, because Poland has always been like this thing, unlike the United States, for instance, or the UK, where people have always been, specially aware.
Yeah, well, and I think this is going to stay at least partially, right? That you are going to get used to having loads of space around you, and people are going to bother you if they enter too closely.
Veronica, can I offer another view?
Yes, please. Yes, of course.
When we look at the media environment worldwide, the advertising market today is about $500 billion. And when you look ahead, maybe 1 or 2 years, $250 billion of it will be in mobile. And so what's happening is, of course, it's very obvious. Traditional media is already not as important, and it's only going down. So what you'll see is you're going to just see countries and companies say, how do they become more relevant in gaming? So done well, that can lead to a lot of innovation. So board games could all of a sudden become very, very interesting to play online because there's a lot more money that goes into making them interesting. I'm actually looking at things like game mods, and there's, I think, going to be a lot of game mods that occur. They do things like what Jacob was talking about a virus and how do you actually protect a group? Well, you can do the same thing for countering disinformation, or to improving the climate, or to go against cyberbullying. So there's all these really cool social issues that could be integrated into fun games. And I do think the industry money will start to move that way because everyone's already there.
Oh, yes. And in like go to gamesforchange.org, I think, Games for Change, basically. Many of the things that you spoke about are there and probably are going to get more funding and more attention, so they're become more prominent. So yes,
I'm a bit skeptical about this NGOs games. So I really like the concept, because in theory, through the games we can teach people how to be more media literate, how to find fake news, how to fight dictatorship, how to be more business educated. But in fact, I don't know many games with this social component that really become game changers. So they still remain very niche, and the number of the audience is like few hundred people. So do they really change the situation? Is it possible to really do good change with the non-mainstream games? What do you think, Jakub?
Jakub, please.
Yeah, so this is kind of my subject as a curator and coordinator of Games for Impact Festival. So in 2018, we showcased around 30 games, and they were very different. Some of them were being applied in environments like health service or education, and some of them were just games, like AAA fun games that had a message in them. So it's a broad spectrum. Yes, there are some, like you said, NGO games, usually not very good. They have a nice message, but they are not fun to play. And unfortunately, there's a lot of money going into games, educational games from, say, government agencies in Poland. But what they come up with is really not fun. And that's the bad thing that can happen to games for change. A lot of money going into something that's not fun to play, that is not really a game, but some kind of a moving book, school book. Yeah, but you asked for examples. So there was this one game that made strides called This War of Mine. It's a Polish game made by 11-bit Studios, and it's a game about the civilian experience during wartime, and it sold 6 million copies worldwide. And it's just one example. There's many more games like that. You can say Senua's Sacrifice. It's a AAA game, really well done, really fun to play, and it's also based in research about psychosis. So it kind of delivers a simulation of what it's like to be a person with psychosis. So you can have a game that's fun and that's a great product, but it also is made with a message in mind, or it's just well made. Meaning, if you have a game about, if you have a horror, survival horror, maybe you shouldn't portray, people with mental disabilities or disorders as villains or scary monsters who can haunt you in an abandoned hospital. You can think about it. You can make the game in a more responsible way. So it's not only about making games that are kind of centered on a specific message, but it's also about making games in a way that is responsible. It's responsible about how you portray, for example, how you represent gender in the game. And you can have a game that's just a fun game, but it's made responsibly, and that's very important, I think.
Jacob, can I ask? You all great points, and agree with you. And most games, by the way, that are made are not good. That's true in general for the industry, but it's definitely true when people who are not gamers make games. There's a group that I'm getting involved in that has access to most of the studios. So in other words, they're looking at, do you do a different version of Fortnite? Do you do a different version of Grand Theft Auto? A different version of World of Warcraft? So work with the people who have made the games that most people play and actually modify those games. So then you have like the best talent in the best games. Would that kind of thing be, this is not my company, I'm not involved with them in any financial way at all, I'm just aware of them. Would that be useful?
I don't think I totally understand what you're saying.
Like, I'm sorry, well, because the business model you've just described is perfect. Like many people do that and it's viable. Yes, because what is extremely important in a game is its mechanics, right? So you get the mechanics, you apply them with a different genre, different story, and it works perfect. Usually it does, right? So intertwining like a social topic behind it. Well, the problem is that what sort of affects people most in games is not the story is extremely important, right? I deal with stories in games, so I have to think they're important. But what players react to is the mechanics. So the story has to be sort of intertwined with mechanics. So if you take a game that has no social purpose whatsoever and don't adapt the mechanics, just slap a socially responsible story to it, it's like you can market it as a game that is designed for change, but it's not going to change the players, because what changes them is the game mechanics. And one more thing, because you both said, oh, there are many crappy games. Like, yes, of course there are, because this is an innovative industry. You can't have innovation if you want to get it 90% right? So you either innovate and you do loads of crap and then get some innovations that are good, or you don't innovate and you have like a much higher rate of things that are very good to play. So just like I'm saying, it's a trade-off, and like we're slowing down. We're making too many good games right now, I think. Like we're steadily moving to the level that like cinema has, right? And I don't necessarily think it's a good thing. Just
and the question here. So if, for example, we want to make the game about fighting disinformation, yeah, because it's like a huge topic everywhere and nobody knows how to deal with it. So is it better to build something from scratch? Is it possible to convince the potential producer? Agnieszka, I think you designed many games, right? So is it possible to convince someone to invest in this game? Or it's much better to take Fortnite, World of Tanks, Animal Crossing, and to inbuild some disinformation component or added on or feature to the popular existing game? What is more efficient tactic?
I would say the second one is more efficient. For example, the game about the virus, the name slips my mind now. Agnieszka, what's the...
Pandemic, right?
No.
Pandemic?
No, the computer.
The plague.
The plague, yeah.
No.
Wait.
I'm sorry. There's this big, famous, Plague Inc. Yeah, Plague Inc. It's a game about the virus, when you build a virus that's supposed to be very deadly, and they modify it all the time. And so once, for example, they added anti-vaccine movement to the game. And it kind of becomes an event that helps the virus. So the game it helps the virus spread when the anti-vacciners appear in the game. So kind of adding these kind of layers of political or social messaging to a game that's already popular and working great is a good tactic, I think. And it's certainly better than copying a game that's popular. Like, for example, in Poland, there's this game called Warsaw. It's supposed to tell a story about the Warsaw Uprising, a historical event, and it's just Darkest Dungeon. It's a different classical game, Darkest Dungeon, just remade to tell a story of Warsaw Uprising, and it failed miserably. Like, it's not a good game, because if you want to play Darkest Dungeon, you go play Darkest Dungeon and not Warsaw. Yeah, Veronica.
So I just keep wanting to ask you one thing. So what is then their golden, I don't know, the best solution in this situation? And I'm also thinking, and again, I will try to be a little bit of devil's advocate. So, for instance, people who are outside the gaming industry, they might think that, now at this moment when there is pandemic, gaming industry will earn a lot of money and there will be a lot of, revenue for them. But would they be able to use this in such a way that they can create actually better products with social impact? Games which would battle disinformation, which would fight with the anti-vaccination movement, which would bring us a lot of social benefit and not just purely, enjoyment of playing and socializing with each other depending on the game. Will they be able to make such conclusions after this situation and use this moment? Because I think this would be a great moment to kind of make a little revolution in gaming industry in this regard. What do you think? Maybe you disagree with me. You don't think it's even needed?
I don't know. I mean, so you're saying that maybe this situation would make the game industry more responsible?
More interested in creating social games with social responsibility, with their how to work with information, with knowledge. Because you mentioned great example of this, you know, anti-vaccination movement, how it was included into the game. Are there going to be more games which would deal with their something socially important, you know, necessary to tackle?
Well, it probably is more a question to, you know, Dori and Agnieszka. Me personally, I don't think anything will change necessarily that much. I mean, Games for Change and Games for Impact have been around for a long time, and people thinking seriously about what games can do are here and have been here for a long time, and the movement is developing, and you know, the number of games that are, you know, can be considered important culturally and socially, and you know, can be considered a strong message, and a can be considered a means to tell a important story. These kinds of games are growing in numbers, and you know, I don't think that necessarily coronavirus will have any specific impact on that. It's a longer story than this.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think, Dori, on that?
Yeah, actually, I kind of agree with Jacob, and also I think that I have yet to see a game that changed, you know, is like a big factor of change. I think games are like plural, right? And I think that the game industry is, you know, as an industry tries to generate more money, and they are becoming good at it. This may be a change. But I don't think also the coronavirus has anything to do with it.
Yeah, but I keep thinking if they're going to make so much money, maybe they can use it in a bit different way. I don't know, for instance, gift a game which will, I don't know, teach children how to differentiate fake news and not fake news, or I don't know, do something like this, do something, you know, like almost like a charity project, because if they're going to make so much money.
It's a little bit ambiguous. I mean, how do you do that? You can teach.
I don't know. I'm just.
There has been a project like that. Kuba, do you remember? Because I'm 100%, like maybe not 100%, but I was very sort of. I suspect that I heard about this.
Yes, I think there are projects like this. I'm just giving an example.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things like that. It's only a question of how successful they are, because most of them are like classroom-based apps actually, and not like games that can be widely distributed as a product. And yeah, we badly need a game like that, but I haven't heard of a successful game that would deal with as a product that would deal with fake news. It's mostly, you know, there's a lot of games that are very simple and very successful in delivering a story, a short story, and very often web-based, for example. One game I remember is that you could spend money, Jeff Bezos's money. You could see how much money he had, and your task was to choose what you buy for all this money. You can end homelessness all over the world for like what he makes in a month or whatever. And you know, these kinds of games exist, and they are powerful. They are a powerful message, but it's completely different than a game that is supposed to be an entertainment product.
I think we have like 10 minutes, but recently we see more and more symbiosis project between gaming, movies industry, like Tomb Raider, also Polish Witcher, which became a hit worldwide. And games become stories, stories become games and movies. So Metro 2033, it was a Russian story about a post-apocalyptic life in Moscow, which became the world game, and now it's going to be the movie. So how do you think this process of consolidation of these three fields, three sectors will continue, or the sectors will find, you know, the way to develop within? So or games will become a producer of shorter movies, or games will go under patronage of giants like Amazon or Netflix. Can we predict anything in these three industries, how they will collaborate and will relate to each other in the next 10, 20 years?
I don't know who wants to start. Agnieszka?
Sorry, I think this one was for you.
Yeah, I actually rather be second on that one.
Let's just put some predictions. You know,
Agnieszka, women have to be the bravest, as always, you know.
I'll throw out a couple.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
What should I give? Because Bob is the
I'll throw out a couple. Yeah,
Go ahead.
One of them is when we talk about societal needs. Well, once the business world realizes it can make money and also provide societal benefit, there will be a whole cottage industry of businesses that will do all the right things in terms of disinformation and all that in gaming. But until they can see how they make money, they'll just do episodic projects and they'll never quite get there. But I do think they'll figure that out. I think the bigger thing is our consumption patterns are changing. You know, it wasn't that long ago we would never have thought that we would sit and consume an entire TV series by streaming on Netflix, because Netflix didn't even exist. So I think how we consume content will change. And I do think that there is this race. If you're in the gaming community, why wouldn't you be able to do e-commerce easily? Why wouldn't you be able to have all your communications there? Why wouldn't it even integrate to some degree with your work platform? So this idea that we have separate silos of activity technically doesn't make sense for those of us who actually engage in it. And so I think you're going to start to see more of that. And that's really partly what Zuckerberg is trying to do, is slowly bring us all into one place that we don't want to leave. He may not succeed, he may succeed, who knows? But I see that going that way. That's a start.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. And you guys, what about you?
So Agnieszka, will you, or Jakub, will you end up working for Netflix, owning your game production companies?
No, I don't have a production company. Agnieszka has works for one.
Yeah, well, I don't think ours will, but like the idea that you said, Bob, is extremely interesting, because I think on one hand, yes, this is what sort of it is sort of heading in that direction, right? And games are appropriate for other things, at least when it comes to gamifying, right? And you can gamify anything you want. So whether it's Facebook experience or communication with others, or like work emails so that you answer them properly, and then you can integrate it into something. And it's like, on one hand, yes, that would probably be something. And obviously any company would like that, because then they'd get more data about you and more traffic and so on and so forth. On the other hand, obviously, this is very, very dangerous, and people do start feeling sort of overwhelmed by the constant stream of information, and to, you know, try to divide their time into separate spaces. So I have no idea which of these trends, maybe not win, because neither will. We will get some balance of it, and I have no idea what that balance would look like, but yes. I think VR will change a lot if it actually enters our lives. This will be one technology that sort of will have to include everything.
I have even, you know, the Oculus here, the Oculus stuff. Oh, so it disappears with my background. But you know, this Oculus thing, it's actually created for video games, I think, primarily, not for computer games. But still, it's not enough.
Which one is it?
Is it a Quest?
Oculus Go.
It's an old one.
Which, in other words,
How dare he?
Real gamers.
But about the future, it's cool. But the most important part of our conversation today, the recommendations for games. So because we are watched now on YouTube, Facebook, here on Zoom, and people are excited to hear your advices, what people can play during COVID, after COVID, in quarantine.
Anytime.
Anytime.
Yeah.
So who can start?
I can start. I actually, when we had the Polish version of this seminar, I had slides even with recommendations. So let me just.
Yes, please share them with us.
While you turned them on, one of the people, Julia, shared a list of games to stay connected, which is extremely important. The link is in the chat.
Yes, but I don't think people later will see it. I mean, those who are on YouTube or Facebook.
We can paste the link.
Yes, we should.
Animal Crossing.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the most successful Corona game, if I can put it this way. It's been a huge success, and it's a game in which is probably successful because it's completely different to the experience you're having when you're in your home arrest and sitting in front of the computer. And it's a game in which you basically build. You're on an island. It's very calm and nice, and it's very peaceful. You don't have a lot of challenges that might stress you. You basically pick up things, you build things, you craft items, and you slowly develop your own place on an island. And it's probably why it has been so successful, because it brings you to a place in your mind where you are at peace and you are really relaxing, and you can spend hours upon hours inside this world. It looks kind of childish, but it's very popular among all age groups.
May I ask you the most ignorant question, and you might hate me after that? I mean, all you guys who work in this industry, why would you, as a person, would like to build something and do something online for so much time if you can do this in real life? If you can, I don't know, clean your apartment, I don't know, cook something, I don't know, play with your child, do something like this. How would you explain that people need, and it's good for them to substitute the reality with this type of games, for instance?
But you can't do that in real life. You can't go out and play with animals, and you can't build a shelter or an empire or whatever it is you're building in a game in 5 seconds with the level of difficulty precisely adjusted so that you would feel that you have accomplished something every single minute of the activity, right? In real life, you build things for hours, and then the progress is abysmal because difficult things take loads of time.
But
right?
then it's like lying to yourself. It's like telling yourself that actually you do something quickly and efficiently, but you don't.
As opposed to watching Braveheart when you feel like you've rescued a country. I mean, the difference.
Great. I really like what you're saying. I'm just really curious. What is the motivation? Okay.
Sorry for the interruption.
Yes.
So next one is, this is probably what you wouldn't think you could. So this one is something you absolutely cannot do in Poland, and I think still under coronavirus. Go biking. And it's a game called Lonely Mountains, in which you basically ride a bike in the mountains, and it's just so beautiful and relaxing. And, you can go for time and, be the fastest one on the track. But you can there are also places in which you can go, look at the view and meditate and sit down on a bench. And I've actually put a significant amount of hours into this one. And so it's kind of similar in that it's, it's peaceful and it's very beautiful and it's very relaxing. Other one is this one is called Banished. It's a game when it also doesn't have a goal per se, apart from, you know, you can develop your own town, medieval town. And it's also very relaxing, and it's kind of in the same vein as the other two I mentioned. But it's not the only thing you usually you can, you know, focus on. You can also, me for example, I like to play games that have a subject similar to what's happening now. So this is Plague Incorporated. It's that game I told you about, in which you develop a virus, and you win if you destroy humanity. And you can see here the closed ports, closed airports, and Africa is still holding on, but rest of the world kind of doesn't. The other one is a game set in A Plague Tale of Innocence. It's a game set during the Black Plague. It's very impressive in terms of visuals. It has a nice story. I kind of hoped it would be more realistic, but it kind of delves into fantasy land at some point. But still, you can wandering through abandoned French towns in the 14th century is kind of cool when you're experiencing a pandemic on your own. This one is, can you see the graffiti on the bus? Virus is a punishment. It's a game, Division 2. It's the game I told you about where you are where it's in Washington, and the whole country of the United States is taken over by different militia, and everything's falling apart, and you are supposed to defend the last remaining signs of civilization. And actually in this game, there's a lot of social elements, as we discussed. This is a group of friends who play the game. And, everyone has their own outfit and emotes, and they go on a mission together. They can talk on the headphones and microphones. And yeah, so this is kind of a AAA game. Fun to play if you want to feel like you're fighting the pandemic. And the last one I will mention is Kind Words. It's a game in which you receive letters and write letters to other gamers. And basically, you can share something that's troubling you, or you can answer someone who shared something intimate. And that's basically the whole game. So I'm sharing this just to show you that games can also offer comfort, emotional support. And I guess that would be it from me. Anyone want to share something else?
Dori, do you have anything to add?
Codenames, definitely recommend it. You can play with your family. It's a really nice game. If shooting is not for you, I would suggest also, forgot the name of this game. Well, I'm really a board gamer these days, so whatever.
So chess is your go.
No, I'm not a chess player, but card games like Seven Wonders or Lord of Waterdeep or like things like that, Istanbul, awesome games, good applications, like mediocre plus, but good stuff, good stuff.
Thanks a lot.
Agnieszka? You must have your games too.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, I think games are sort of like any other medium, right? You should find your own, and like if you ask someone if they read books, it's usually a very ridiculous question, because some people read history novels, some people read fiction, and some don't, right? Some read just books to learn something, and so on and so forth. Games are so different from each other, right? So first of all, think about what you would like, if you would like an activity with your friends, or if you would like time alone, or if you would like to escape for a while from everything that's around you. And if you want to escape for a while, buy a AAA title, or just try a AAA title that will transport you somewhere completely different, right? So maybe not Fallout, but I don't know, Skyrim or something. If you have loads of time and want to play with your friends, try League of Legends or something where you can just, or an RPG game that you can play with friends. If you don't have a lot of time, or if you want something casual just for 5 minutes, try a mobile game. I don't know, like, first of all, think about what you would like out of the experience, and then, then search for a game. I think.
Guys, kids are calling. Kids are calling. I have to log out.
Thank you so much for joining us last minute, and thank you so much for sharing your experience. It was really interesting for us to see how you're doing in Israel, and all the best.
Yeah, thank you, Dory, and thanks everyone for joining the event today. So it was great conversation. I think it was one of the coolest events we had, and there will be recording, so we will have many people willing to watch the video after. So again, thanks to our great speakers, Jakub Zgierski, Agnieszka Mulak, Bob Pearson, who joined.
Yes, thanks for your active participation.
And shared his thoughts. Also, Lukasz Król, who was passive the whole event and now showed up.
We see you.
Veronika,
hey everybody,
from Poland, for hosting the event. And this series is organized by Digital Communication Network, DCN Poland, DCN C-Hub. And DCN is our organization, organization which drives innovation changes in the digital space. So now we are present in 28 countries in Europe and Asia, but we are trying to build some presence as well in Africa and Southeast Asia. And DCN is supported by US Department of State Office of Citizen Exchanges. And we are very thankful to everyone who support us and trust us. And that's not the last event on games. I think we will continue this conversation, and we will be meeting again and again. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much
for having us.
Thank you. Bye.